Okay, I think we can start. Uh, this is the project. Today we'll talk about SQLMesh. Uh, I didn't work with SQLMesh before, and before I was thinking this somehow related to data mesh. So that is data mesh architecture exists, and the idea behind data mesh, then you can have different teams, and each team own their part of data products or data marts, you can call it. So there's somehow like you have central data storage, but then different teams can come, take the data and build their own data products. For example, Amazon, for example, their approach looks like more or less data mesh. Then you have central data set, central repository, and then people can set up their own AWS account and create their small data warehouses, like subset of the data, and build their dashboards or manage their products. So the SQL mesh have no connection to data mesh at all. And this is the first thing I learned. The second thing I learned that the SQL mesh is a primary competitor for DBT. So it does the same thing. If because previously in Surfalytics we spent a lot of time to understanding what is DBT. DBT is doing transformations inside data warehouse, could be anything, and we like DBT because it's not just data transformations and SQL, but it's many more. So you have your data tests, you you have the, and by the way, can you see the picture and can you hear me well?
We can see and hear.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So in DBT we have concept of tests that is super important, and super important not only for the project itself, but for the data interview, because every interview related to data position will probably ask you a question about data quality, and telling the story about DBT test will answer this. The second, and there are a bunch of different quality things. There is freshness, there is completeness, accuracy, and so on and so on, even just uniqueness. And then the documentation part, and you have also lineage. You can see all the transformation, all dependency, everything transparent and super nice. So that's about DBT. So the SQL Mesh does the same. It is a transformation thing. Uh, some way it reminds DBT. Yeah, you have UI, you have CLI, and it's also open source, but it's slightly different approach, and it definitely we couldn't get the knowledge very fast. It might remind you the same approach. We have Airflow is the most popular orchestrator, but we have Daxter, and the Daxter has their own concept how you orchestrate. So in nutshell, it does the same. It schedule your pipelines, but in nutshell, Daxter works really different. The same prefect is like it's like our flow orchestration, but works slightly different. Luigi works slightly different. So the SQL mesh, despite the fact the idea the same, the purpose the same, it works slightly different. So it definitely has pros and cons. In my understanding, the biggest benefits of DBT is this product very long time on the market. It's very popular. There is huge community, and almost every second company that I interviewed, they have DBT. If they have Snowflake BigQuery, they have 100% DBT. So SQL Mesh is more like niche product, but it's good to know the alternative, and it also give you some thoughts for your interview. Then you have like interview with hiring manager. Oh, like you have DBT, but did you hear about SQL Mesh? And some discussions about this. They very productive during the interview. So yeah, this is data scientists can have some use cases, data engineer, analytics engineer, data analyst. Um, they connect dashboards, pipeline, quality, and yeah, I don't know what they mean by AI products, but these things just generate the SQL. So we today we'll do this thing, um, and some commands I already placed it here. As usual, what you can do you go to your own account, your if you want repeat, or maybe you can repeat it later. So you can go to your own repository, um, like this my repository. You can come here. As usual, for every new project, you will create new repository and you clone it and you start working, and then you can save your work. So, and it's also your Git will serve you a kind as your asset. So I don't know, is it I'm not committing. So you can see this area, November, December, I was committing a lot, mostly for our Surfalytics projects, I think only. And if I would have this, like this consistency across the whole year, then it would be a really cool thing to put inside my resume. Okay, I will use this one, and so we have a bunch of here. Okay, I don't need this one. And on the second half, we will go for this. So the very first step, they ask us, as usual, to create the virtual environment. So, and this, and we could also use poetry as an alternative. And then we activate this environment. Uh, I think I deleted. Yeah, I deleted, so I need create. What I like in this command, so I usually do python-env, but here I like that you actually can call it .env. So showing that this, some internal file because you don't want to commit this anyway. So I'm when I have the Python free on my machine. So I create it, I activate it. Um, as it's the Python library, SQLMesh, we can install it. It will go into install everything. So it also give us ability to install some extras. We can install UI part of this. But for working, if we understand the concept, like we don't need UI at all. So, and you can see, yesterday I watched YouTube video on this is a company that create SQL Mesh called Tobiko, and I think SQL Mesh is the open source version, and they have also the managed version. So they have nice package DBT projects, and technically you can take any DBT project you have, and you can run it as a SQL Mesh, and it will require you change a bit of DBT project YAML file, and they have video how to do this. DLT, I think it's another alternative of DBT, less popular than SQL Mesh, but also you can run DLT projects. Another thing that they have nice right out of the box, and DBT doesn't have this, GitHub CI/CD bot, because in the past we had some work related to CI/CD, and for example, if you want to do something for DBT, you just need to collect different building blocks together and do this. But here you can install this thing, this kind of bot that already will do this for you. Then it has a direct integration with Slack. That is also very nice. DBT only has DBT Labs, give you integration with Slack, and if you have open source, then you need to, I don't know, use Airflow or some kind Python library, whatever execution framework that will report to Slack. This one, I'm not sure development, and this solution is probably something new. I think it can write SQL for you using generative AI. And then this is what kind of databases it supports. Of course, it supports Snowflake, Redshift, BigQuery, Databricks. Um, yeah, I think in our example we will use DuckDB, and because we already worked with DuckDB, so DuckDB is just local database that you can install locally, and you have the file with everything. So also nice to test. And they also, you see, they have also notebook interface apart from their UI graphical interface. Yeah. And they constantly attacking DBT because I read the post that last summer, the founder of this company was banned from DBT conference in Las Vegas because they clearly understand this is their primary competitor, and in some ways it's even better. So that's why they maybe scare it. Okay, command line interface. So this is what we're gonna do here, and we'll use just this example. Another thing, another product, maybe we will learn it in other project is SQLGlot library. This SQLGlot library, it's also, I think, developed by this company. It's SQL parser and optimizer and engine. So it based on your SQL that you write in Visual Code, it can understand and parse it right away. And this is a bit what is DBT did now, because DBT acquired this company SDF, and SDF company basically thinks that know semantic of your SQL queries. So, and it can parse your SQL query without actual, for example, you have DBT projects and your DBT models connecting to Snowflake. How it works now? You write the query. If you want to test your query, you need to execute the model. You need to connect Snowflake, compile the SQL, and try to run it. So the SDF can compile your SQL without connecting the Snowflake, and way faster. So that's how it works. But I think the SQLGlot is a kind of alternative things that also works with the SQL, how it compiles and how it can work. Yeah, maybe we can try something in the future. Okay, so we will, as you know, like when you start DBT project, you also do like DBT init, and it will create the structure of the project. And by the way, if you want practice DBT, this is the project that I did in January for Vkontakte. So it has huge README, 1,000 lines, but it basically all steps involved with DBT, and you just need to have like local Postgres or cloud Postgres that you can connect and specify and profile. Okay, here I'm gonna do this. So it should create the project structure for me. So, and now, yeah, I install this little utility tree so it can visualize what's inside my. So we can see that it creates audits folder with example. So audits in SQLMesh the same as the test in DBT. The config YAML that has our connection, so the same as profiles. Macros is the macros. Then the models, we have the SQL models. The seeds, the same. And we also have test. Yeah, what's the difference between test and audits? Not sure yet. So, and here they give some information us about what's inside. So the first in config YAML file, so if I open config YAML file, so we have a little bit connections to, because we're using DuckDB as a database engine, and now database is a local file that will be available as soon as I will run the model. The DuckDB will create this local database. So, and it's using dialect of DuckDB. Not sure what is gateway. So, okay. And then it tells us about what each things means. So it's config YAML, models, seeds, audits, test. Oh, it's unit test. So we probably will find out with example in macros and what's inside. And in seed, we have the data. We have this very small data file that probably we're gonna use to fit. So then the next step we do is create the production environment. And here the couple this is here the difference from DBT starting, because DBT your models, your SQL models, everything, it just the SQL queries. You can in your profile you can define the target. This is my dev target, this is my prod, or any name you want. So basically you specify, and the target in your config you can say, okay, the prod is my schema prod, the dev is my schema dev. And that's how the DBT running the SQL and writing. So the SQL mesh takes very different approach here with environments. And yeah, it's for me it's yet hard to explain what does it mean, but this is the where the learning curve is happening. So understand what those environments means. And then if you work, for example, with Terraform, then in Terraform you have command Terraform plan, Terraform apply. So the plan will show you what actually will gonna happen, and apply it will happen. In DBT you don't have this option. DBT you have options run. The you have options like compile that compile the SQL, but it doesn't tell you what kind of changes you had before and after. But here they different. They track what's happening. So what we can do, the first command will run. It looks like it's the development pattern starting from SQLMesh. So, and it tells us we currently have only prod environment, and I think somewhere plans to environment. Yeah, we currently have only prod environment, and I don't know what kind of things manage this, but this is by default we have only single prod environment. Okay, so this is what we have, and it noticed as soon as I run it noticed, oh, we have 3 models, and also for each model we have a kind their materialization level, or like how we can say. So you can see it also have the option concept of backfills, but here we have one model full refresh, another incremental model is date range, and then the seed model is full refresh. And then it asks, do you want you executing this? So we can quickly review what we have here. So in SQLMesh folder, we have models, and this is how the model look like. So currently the configuration, it's here, and full mode, audits, grain, cron. Yeah, another thing I know that SQLMesh has built-in cron, so you even can just schedule it. So if you have your transformations, in DBT you don't have any options to schedule. You can write your own, like use just shell script and schedule it, but here you have like connecting to the cron, and you can, for each model you can define the schedule. It means I can place it in some kind of container and it will leave its own and just running scheduling. So it's very convenient for, especially for small projects. Incremental model, it has start. I don't know, and this you see it's passing the parameters, and grain and seed model. Yeah, it's pointing to path to the seed and passing the types of columns and the grain, and it will just execute this. Okay. So if I click yes, apply, and it's executing. And we also notice now we have this DuckDB database where everything happening. That is probably we will review it later. So here it just give it a bit more informations, but this is the same like in DBT models, we have config and it has a bunch of parameters. Here for the models, we have this model concept and then we pass the parameters. So it's not something very easy to explain, it just need to use based on examples. And here they trying to explain what is doing and how it works. So we did the same, we created. So SQLMesh performs three actions. It's create a store new version of models, it evaluating running them, and it's virtually updating the target environment, so our prod environment. And then they say, okay, let's go to incremental model and do the update. So we adding new column. And then I assume we can do the same SQL mesh plan. And it see it noticed there is change, and because we have and it's offering us backfill. Okay. So backfill is basically completely rewrite the data inside the table for a given date range, and starting from this date probably till today. This is what happening. I know. Do they have in DBT? What I like, we have always target folder where we can review what queries compiles and how the thing works. Okay. Oh, logs. And we have those kinds of logs. It also give us list of commands, what is doing against our DB, DuckDB. So that's, for example, maybe then we did backfill, it's delete everything from the table and then insert everything. So the logic similar with DBT. And now they suggest to create development environment. I think it because I changed the model. Maybe I need apply. No, no changes. Okay, something because I modified the model. I don't. Maybe I need to some kind committed. I will add this flag. Yeah. So now we have two environments. Cool. And we always, then we work with CLI. We can always check the commands help, and it will tell you what options we have. For example, if I say with SQLMesh, what commands I have. Clean, create test, render doc and HTML file. So, and every time then we work CLI, the best thing you can do is for every command you run before you going to Google and use ChatGPT, just to use the help flag to see, just get this as a habit. But it's still hard without context. So okay, we run this. So we run. Okay, we have dev environment, and it I don't know, did. So we can try to query data. So it's have the some kind mechanism fetching the data. Here it's highlighted the environment. So it's manage tables for dev and manage tables for prod. So it's, yeah, you see it's not easy first time using this product. Yeah, I have this new column in dev. Okay, and this is the prod version. Yeah, I think they wanted that. Yeah, I think I messed up a bit tutorial. They wanted that I modify the model only for dev, but I modify it for prod as well. So I think that they want to show you how you can do changes in dev environment and not release them to the prod. And I just apply it to the prod. Okay. And then they want to merge it. So you have change in the dev, and then you want to apply it to the prod. And I did opposite. And then you can see, yeah, you have it. Connection database SQL engine. We can try to open UI. We install it. Try to open UI. Yeah, and this is what we have. So you see, you can write the queries. It's a kind UI for my DuckDB database. Yeah, but it does me not telling me anything. So I have models. With my models, and this is creating the Duck with dependency. Maybe there is no dependency. I don't know how it's connecting. This is where UI. And here we can even run the model. Here we can choose environment where we want to do. So technically we can come to here and I can, for example, do some changes. For model. So I've added the column, I saved the change. And this is my dev model. Data mismatch. Oh, doesn't like my change. Oh, yeah, because maybe because we have count. Yeah, I don't think what else I can show you. For me, it's very first time to try, and we can choose choose data engineering project with SQLMesh. SQLMesh examples. Yeah, for example, in my opinion, if I would have a chance to work with DBT, I will stick with DBT because it's I can focus on building and delivery, but for some organizations they don't like to take the known path. They want to explore their own path. Then they can go with Dagster, with SQLMesh, with DuckDB. So use something unusual. But, but think about this: that you just have conversation for your interview, for hiring manager, for your team members, for anyone, or even you can write a little blog post. And one tactic we use, then you work with niche brands, with niche vendors, then you tagging them in LinkedIn, they always tag you back. And we did this before. I know Nikita did it. I forgot the company, but yeah, they take him back, and he participate in some contest. But that works nice. This is example for Snowflake connection. This guy is using Airbnb dataset, and then he create the SQL mesh for Snowflake. He has the connection definition. Then he probably went to Snowflake UI, manually ingested data from dbt learn. Maybe it's public data set. So he loaded in Snowflake because dbt and SQL mesh you need to find the way first load data into database, and then you actually start work. So now, current example of SQL Mesh, we use seed file to load data in DuckDB and then reference these in other models. So, and then he creating the models. So he used the same naming source, pretty similar like in dbt. Here and yeah, also specifies a table of view. So here's what he did. With cities approach, he used to create those source models. And then he creating the dimension models that referring those source models. So very simple. And you see he has very simple here definition. No bank field, no incremental, nothing. Just name of the table and kind. That's it. So he did all of these, creating. Another thing what I noticed in dbt, we always reference the model name. Here we reference, basically in dbt, the model name is a file name in dbt. Here we have the name defined here, and it doesn't matter what kind of file you have. So this should be consistent probably. Then he create the fact model. He used the incremental by time range. And he also used some kind like built-in macro to generate the surrogate key or unique key. In dbt, you can do the same with dbt utils like surrogate key to generate one. And then in where condition, you see this is how they have incremental one. So they have the parameter start date and end date. They also have the seed file. Marked. This table here rebuilt every time. Reviews and full moon states. Okay. So this is how it looks like. Also, like you have the projects, you have the models and tables match. And then he has, okay, let's build first in development environment everything. This is the plan. This is that gonna build. And here you see it's always trying to identify the tables that is a new table. It need to be backfill. And then he did the same in prod. Yeah, that's it. Very straightforward and very simple. Unfortunately, he didn't use any of tests and audits. Virtual data environment. Yeah, this is more about virtual data environment. Yeah, I still didn't get the full this concept. Here's tools offers. Nothing. SQLMesh example. Here we have more projects. I think two projects. Sushi, the very first sushi models test. So we have models. Yeah, here we have a bit. We're also adding audits. So here, for example, the uniqueness test and not null test. So you see, in dbt, you always also need to write YAML file for each column that gives you very solid documentations. Here, I'm not sure. Maybe this what they're using for documentations, but it's not clear. Documentations, good question. This example, then they moved dbt transition to SQLMesh. Schema YAML. Yeah, I'm not sure how they keep all the definitions for the models. Good question to find out and sharing later. Test. Config. Schema. They have separate file schema, just beside the type. Maybe it's for seed, I don't know for what. And they have one and test. So they have some logic that you can define the tests. So after this demo, I wasn't sold by SQLMesh, so I will still keep dbt. Yeah. So anyone wants to share anything about this? Did you hear about this in the past?
Same feelings. I also did not get like the advantages of SQL Mesh over DBT and what should be the special case for organization to start looking into SQL Mesh.
Yeah, the dbt killer is born, but 1 year ago. So I think I still questions. It's might be have flexibility with their environments and some features that like I don't know cron scheduler and how you handle those configurations for the models, but it's missing a bunch of features. In other benefits of dbt, so dbt hub, right, package hub, where you have so many utilities, it's just you couldn't beat it. So the community is way ahead, and dbt
You,
labs working, so they can. It's still very niche product, and I don't know how they're gonna beat it. Um,
you need to wait more time.
Yeah, but good to know, just to try. Maybe anyone
For sure.
wants to, but if anyone is gonna do this project and then tag Tobiko and SQLMesh, this would be nice because they will reply you back and maybe share you. So like for extra brand awareness, it usually work well. Yeah, that's that's probably it. yeah, if we don't have any other questions, then we can finish.
Dmitry, for webinar. It was really good to know about SQL Mesh.
Yeah, I will check for the next Friday because I want maybe some other interesting tools to check because I want to do like meta-based Docker container. I want to do superset for BI tools, and there is also I think like Essence BI works through Markdown, and then I go want to start doing a bit of containers projects because there is for local running containers you have Docker, you have for Kubernetes ideas, you have like kind and Minikube. So the idea do something about to check those tools for containers and maybe just learn how we can host because very often to do anything outside of the box, if you want to communicate more than one tool running locally, then you need some kind like Docker Compose or maybe Kubernetes. And then even if you have just, oh, I will have my Postgres, I want to have my Airflow and dbt together as a three different containers working together. That's, yeah, those ideas. Okay, then see you every